Hello everybody, welcome to Circle, Square, Triangle. And today is the second episode. Today I'm going to talk about why I call my show Circle, Square, Triangle. Is because everything can be drawn with a circle, square, and a triangle. Everything. You just need these three shapes. Some of these shapes can be stretched. For example, this square here can be a rectangle. The triangle can be a longer triangle. And circles can be either small circles, big circles, or stretched. They become ovals. Let's start off with an example of what I am talking about. So here, I started off with a square, and I used made sure I use the same side, same measurements for each side, so it is a perfect, as close to perfect as possible square. Once you have your square, it's pretty simple. You can just do a crosshatch from corner to corner, and that will help you be able to find your center. Once you find your center, then you can put a circle in here. That's another method. I used a template for this. Same size in circumference as it is the square. So it fits right in there. Then you can, once you get your center, you can put a vertical line, and I didn't in this case, but a horizontal line, back and forth. And then you can, in this case, this makes two rectangles, but if I did another line here, you know what, I think I'm just going to do it right now. Get one of these, if you're an aspiring artist, get one of these artists loft. See if I can get it there. Yeah, oh yeah, that's nice. Artist loft, transparent with the grids on it. Oh, this is such a time saver. It's very helpful, especially if you're doing comic books and you need to do parallel lines quickly. Okay, so in this case, I'm just going to use this here. I got my center. I found my center here, and I'm going to match it up with the lines on here. This is where the grids come in handy. You can use a thicker grid, because there's thinner ones, then there's thicker ones for each inch. So whichever one helps you kind of find that parallel line faster. Put it right there on the edge, and then I'm going to use dotted lines here so it doesn't get too mixed up there. Okay, so now in this case, I did that crosshatch here on the center that we found here. Remember, there's our center. And you make a horizontal line and a vertical line from the center. Now you've got four squares. In this case, maybe you can see it clear this way. I'll just do it this way. These aren't going to be exact and perfect, but it's just, for demonstration purposes here. So you got a vertical lines from top to bottom going straight like this. These are vertical lines. And this way is horizontal lines. So I'm going to do my horizontal line here. I'm going to do these in dots. You can do straight lines if you want to, but I'm just doing these dots for me because they help me this way. So when you do that, you can see the reason why I did that over here, so you can see the four smaller squares that I put in here. So you got this way, and now you've got four smaller squares. Now, you've already got your bottom line here when you make your square, what I did was I took my center line, and I made a vertical line up here. So obviously I've got my 4 squares here, like here. But I want to make a triangle. So what I do is I take that center line, that vertical line I made that is directly in the center here, and then I make a line from this top center to the bottom corners here, giving me a triangle. Boom. So there you are. So now you've got a nice triangle. Now the great things about triangles is, see this line here, this center line here? I can make another triangle that's going to be half the size of the triangle from before. So I'm just taking the half. You have a taller triangle and you have a shorter triangle, and it's also great for making designs. So if you did the same thing on the opposite side, you can also create some sort of pattern here, or a design. And I'm just gonna connect the lines from the corner to the center like I did the other side. Boom. So here we are. Got a triangle, larger triangle, smaller triangle. And then you put it upside down, you have like some kind of pattern or a design. You can incorporate the circle with the design, you can incorporate the squares, you can incorporate the triangles. Circle, square, triangle. As far as making anything, we're gonna start with a simple design. Here I've made a square, basic square, and I did my cross lines so I could find the center. Got our square. You put a triangle above it, and I did the same thing that I did from before, which was I started off with a square here. There it is. So I started off with a square, I started off with a larger triangle, and then I did half the size on the second triangle. So this can become a house. You got a triangle here, and you've got a box here, square, and then you put them together like so. You bring this triangle down, and you've got a house. You got the basic shape of the front of a house here. So this is an example of just a triangle and a square making something. It's the front of a house. Now, to take it to the next level, and I'm going to show you this just to give some dimension, give you some dimension to this house, but I won't be using proper perspective. I'm just using this as an example to make a house with a little bit more dimension to it. Now, in reality, this would be in perspective, and that would be 1-point perspective, but we're gonna go through that at a different time. But right now, we're just gonna add some dimension to the house. These are people who are like beginners, right? So what I did was I put a square here, like I did here, square and a triangle to make a house. So I did that. And then I did the same thing, but slightly a little higher and to the right. I did the same thing. And you can see I dotted these areas to show that it's supposed to be behind the walls of this house. So it's like an area, let's say you had x-ray vision. This is what it would look like. So now you've got a square, you've got a triangle, and you do the same thing here, and then you connect the corner of this roof to the second one that you did. And you only need to do it on this one side. I mean, you can do it on both if you want, but it would just be like another series of dots. This is supposed to be behind the house that you can't see. If you want more x-ray vision, you're more than happy to. So you connect the corners here on this side, and then the top of the roof on that side, and then the bottom of your house on this side. Just connect them all together like that. to the second house. And then what you can do is, once you have all of this here, you can make more of a solid line. Use your ruler. If you want it super straight, if you don't care, then don't worry about it. This is just for demonstration purposes. Then you can just take your eraser, erase, 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 erase. And so it looks more like a house with some dimension on it. Now, again, this isn't completely accurate because this doesn't have perspective, but I'm just using this as an example to show. And then next time I can show you what it's like with perspective once I introduce you to first point perspective. That will be the first lesson on that. But for demonstration purposes, we don't need to do that. Right now we're just adding dimension to this little basic house that we made. Now, with more squares, you make little windows here. And the principle still applies. Like you have, you make your window, try to make them the same size. If not, they don't have to be the exact same size on all corners. Most windows are long vertically. These are the vertical lines. And a little shorter horizontally. These are the horizontal lines. And then, if you want to be more accurate, you can find your center. And you put your vertical and horizontal line where that center is. And then you just place it where you want it. So I put one here, I put one here, I put one here. And I did the same principle with the windows, just I did not do the window grids on there. Just left that plain so it's a door, and then just put a little circle there. Now, if I wanted to get even more technical, I could put more windows up here. Put a window here. You put your line parallel to these lines here that we did. That would be easy to do with a ruler. And you just do some vertical lines here. And then do your parallel lines. This is rough looking, but it's just for demonstration purposes. And then make more windows here. Okay. And so that would be the basic structure for a house with, first of all, a house. You have your triangle, square together. Then you have your house with some dimension on it. We did square. We did triangle. Now it's time to work on the circle part. Okay, so again, everything is circle, square, triangle. You can draw anything with these shapes. In this case, we have a sphere, so we've got essentially a ball here. And how do I get this shading here? Well, it's pretty simple. And this right here is a template. It's just a piece of plastic that already has the shapes already on there with different sizes in many cases. Okay, so in this case, I'll show you how I did my shading. There we go. Okay, use my template. It's got my circle. And what I usually do is I kind of put a crescent moon, just a very faint crescent moon inside the full moon, so to speak. And I usually do it pretty light, so it won't show when I'm doing the shading. So it's kind of a quarter moon, got something like that. And then I do lines. What some people do is they'll do lines like this, like that, and then they'll smudge it to kind of get some shading. Or they do quick lines like this. This will get your smudging even more blended in, like that. So it kind of creates a shade here. And then if you do it some more, then you can get a darker one. Another one, same thing, darker on that side. So So you can kind of see what's happening here. You're getting a shading effect here. Okay, let's say, hypothetically, if we were to do a circle, you get a shading effect here, just by doing the smudge thing. But we're not doing that. We're just doing basic line work here. So I will take straight lines and I will make them as even as possible and just kind of as close together, not too close, but just close enough. Okay. And another thing you can do is you can either just put the lines on like this. Can you see? Yeah. Or you can do a kind of a feathering effect here, even with your pencil. Like that. So you kind of start off a little hard. I've got a mechanical pencil and they break easy, so you're going to have to figure out your own technique for that. But apply a little bit of pressure and then you just give it a flick. Give it a flick. And what that does is that gives you a thick to thin effect on your line drawing like this. So let's just say it's a closer up version of it. It gives you that effect. Okay, without much effort. Really, just a little pressure. Whoops, see? Right there. That's a good example. Then you give it a flick and nothing. Okay, so I just did straight lines here. Now I'm going to give it that feathering effect again. And all I'm doing is just trying to keep try to keep the lines uniform, parallel to each other, and give it a little flick effect. And then you have some shading here, kind of creates a sphere effect on the bland circle that you had before. Now, if you want to take it to the next level, I just turn it slightly. Well, what some people do is this. You have your circle, you have your lines. What some people do is they contour around the circle like this to create that type of sphere effect, shading effect. So some people do it that way, and then some people do it the way I'm about to show you here, where I just kind of tilt my paper a little bit, get it at a different angle, and then just basically do the same thing. Maybe put the lines a little bit farther than they were before. And for me, I like if you do it, this is called cross hatching. This is cross hatching too, in a different way. I like this cross hatching because it creates a diamond effect here. So it creates a diamond effect here. These little diamonds here, and diamond, I just mean like if you're playing cards type of diamonds. And they're basically just squares kind of leaning a little bit. So like I said, you take a square and then you just have it lean. Like that. And then you put it up vertical. You have a diamond. Okay, so it's these little diamonds that I'm trying to create with this type of cross hatching that really gives it a good effect here. And I'm gonna darken one right here. See, I got one little diamond there. And so when you have all these diamonds here, like I said, it creates a shading effect. So again, this creates your sphere effect here. Okay, so you just went from a simple ball to a sphere. Okay, and so this could be a pool ball. This could be a kids ball that they play with. Could be a marble, the sun, etc. Usually the sun doesn't have shading, but you get my idea. So now, what else can you make with a circle that's something that is not completely a circle or a sphere? Well, as you can see here, I've got the tip of something. I started off with a circle, and I made a second circle. The same principle I applied to this angle of a house. I did the same shape, a little bit higher and a little bit to the right. Same thing with the circle. I made one circle here, then I made one a little bit farther away here because I knew what I was going to make. So the same thing. It's the same type of circle to the right and up. And then I did the same thing I did here, connected the lines like so. I did that with the circle. So I connected the line from here to here, connecting the line from here to here. So now that we've got our long skinny cylinder here, again, this is not corrected. We're not using perspective today. We're just getting the idea of how to make different shapes, different objects with these three basic shapes. So then I put a little oval here for the nose. Then I used for the wings, excuse me, for the tail, I used triangles, stretched out triangles going that way. Okay, so I've got my shapes kind of going this way. My line is kind of going this way as far as where it's facing. Okay. And then I cut it like that. And I follow the same line that's creating the cylinder. I use that same line to kind of make that cut, and I erase, and then you've got the tail. Got the tail of the wing here. I hope that I showed that. Same thing here. We got some triangles here. Cut them off. Follow this line. Same thing here. Triangles. Follow this line. Cut. So as you can see here, and then it's basically, like I said, a triangle that I just kind of clipped on the top here to create the part of the upper tail of the wing. And we do the same thing, same principle down here. The wings are kind of the same way. I'm just using a ruler because it's going to be easier than trying to do this by hand. But got my lines here. Boop, boop. Gonna use these same lines. And I'm gonna do a straight line here. Now in this case, I'm going, because I figure the center, let's say if I had a square here, if I had a square here where this circle is, I would do a cross, I would find the middle, and then I'd match that middle with the other circle. Kind of do a dot because we're doing some X-ray here. We're trying to find the center. And so now we have the center here. I'm just going to put that center with that center. And this is the part we don't want to show. So the wings go here. So we're going to put wings on here on the part we can see, and then use the same line that we use for the cylinder. These are the lines we're using for these straight lines here. We used it at the tip here, we used it back here. Now we're using it for the wing. And I'm just going to cut it right there because most wings aren't super sharp on the end. Some are, but not all. These type of planes are not. And then just a little tip. And you can just erase the ends there. And there you go. Just kind of darken the lines a little bit that you already made. And this is very, this is very crude, but it's just a demonstration to show what you can make with these basic lines. And so with this method, I use little circles for the jets of the airplane, and then I use these same lines here that created the sphere. It shows the direction of the airplane. I use that, and I just put one little line underneath each of them just to show that it's like a tube in there, a jet in there inside. It has kind of like a tube shape like this. A jet is like a tube shape like this. And then they have, there's more things involved, and they've got like these little panels inside there, but we're not going to get into all that. So I put these little tubes here. And the tubes are basically just the cylinders I did here. It's the same thing. Same thing, this tube here, it's a tube. It's a cylinder, it's basically just a cylinder. And you can put a cylinder in this direction, you can put a cylinder in that direction, you can put a cylinder in that direction. So we've got 3 little tubes that represent little jets for the airplane. Now this isn't, an accurate drawing of an airplane, but I just wanted to give you the idea of what you could make with those 3 basic shapes. We got our circle, okay? In this case, I didn't use any squares. I used triangles, and then cut them. And then after that, let's put in some little windows, and usually the end of an airplane, the nose is black. So I put in some little windows like this. One way to do it is like circles like this, or you can just do a straight line. Kind of helps it make it more straight. And just use your eraser tip. Make sure it isn't too fat or wide. And then you just make little lines like this. And then you've got like a straight line of windows there. Bringing this back in. Today's lesson is why I call my show Circle, Square, Triangle. Because for me, these are the 3 basic shapes I use to make everything. You can take some shapes, like a circle like this, and you can do a square. Put that here, and then maybe an upside down triangle in this case, okay? And then you can mix, outline those different shapes to make something else. In this case, this is like a head. Okay, so things like that. So this will come later. So see right here, you can see it's just a basic face. Again, I'm just doing a quick drawing here. All right, so gives you the idea of what that is. Circle, square, triangle. You can build anything. All right, that's our show for today. Bye-bye.